And in fact, a lot of my success has come from mistakes that I've made.
Oh my Lord, oh my days, I've come a long, long way, and I've been lost in a lonely place. They're recognizing me. Oh my Lord, oh my days, I've come a long, long way.
Good morning guys, welcome to another YouTube video. I'm going to document a little bit more in this video. I'm actually on the way to do some work. I need to do a favour for my granddad as well. He smashed his glasses recently, so I need to get them fixed. And what I'm going to do in today's video is, like I said, I'm going to document or talk about how we can deal with failing, how we can deal with failure, the mistakes that we make. So I'm going to share some personal experiences. I'm also going to share some lessons that I've learned from making mistakes in the past, and I'm going to take you on that journey today. So I managed to get some work done, got my granddad's glasses fixed. Now I'm here at the gym ready to get a workout in. But let's talk about failure. Now, the biggest mistake that we make is the way that we see failure, the way that we see mistakes, and we see it in a negative light. Now it's all about, and this is what I've learned, is changing our perspective and changing our perception on how we see our failures, how we see our mistakes. Because if you look at it in terms of a scientist, they will never see failure as something that is negative. How they see it as experiments. They see it as experimentation. If they try it one way, it doesn't work, they try it another way. If that doesn't work, they try it another way. But let's say, for example, we start a business. If that business doesn't work, we see it as us failing and we give up. But you need to start taking it in a different light. You need to start learning from mistakes, start learning from the failures that you have. Start classing yourself as a scientist. You know, life's all about experimenting. If you make mistakes, learn from it. And in fact, a lot of my success has come from mistakes that I've made. And a good example is when I lecture, I do some lecturing at the London College of Fashion, and people say to me, you know, what education did you have? How did you learn all this? And I always turn around to them and say, you know, I went to college, I got A-levels, and I went straight into work. All of this that I've learned and all of this that I'm teaching you has been from me making mistakes. I'm teaching you what I did wrong. I'm teaching you the success that I've had from learning from those mistakes, so you don't have to go out and do them. So I think that's the key thing when it comes to mistakes, changing our perspective on it, learn from it. Become a scientist. Use your life and use those mistakes as experiments. Imagine Thomas Edison giving up on the light bulb because he kept making mistakes. Imagine Michael Jordan or any other sports person giving up because they missed a shot, or maybe they didn't have a good training session. See failing in a different light, learn from it, change your perspective of it, and become a scientist. All right, guys, I'm gonna go in and have a workout, get a bit more work done, and then I'm gonna share a few more points with you. So I'm back from the gym, back in the home office, and I wanted to share with you the second point. When it comes to failure, when it comes to making mistakes, it's important that you don't dwell on it. I've said this in previous videos before, especially the one where I talk about dealing with guilt, and that is that the past is the past, the future is the future. You cannot control the past, and at the same time, you cannot directly control the future. The only thing that you can control right now is the present moment. So if you've made mistakes in the past, if you've failed in the past, what can you do? You can't change what has already happened. All you can change is how you perceive that situation right now. Let me share with you this, which I've just read in this article here. So it's here, it says, stop dwelling on it. Obsessing over your failure will not change the outcome. In fact, it will only intensify the outcome. So that's kind of what I'm saying, that if you just consistently dwell on the past, it's going to make it worse. You have to look at it in a positive light. This is important as well. Don Shula, I don't know exactly who it is, but he had a 24-hour rule. He was an NFL coach, a policy of looking forward instead of dwelling on the past. The coach allowed himself, his staff, and his players 24 hours to celebrate a victory or brood over a defeat. During those 24 hours, he encouraged them to feel their emotions of success or failure as deeply as they could. The next day it was time to put them behind them and focus their energy on preparing for the next challenge. His philosophy was that if you keep your failures and victories in perspective, you'll do better in the long run. So take that into consideration as well. Any mistakes that you've made in the past, don't dwell on them. So the next point that I want to make is to rectify your failures. So like I said, don't dwell on them, but at the same time, if there's something that you can do to make them better, then do it. You know, make a plan that's going to rectify the mistake that you've made. So an example of this is one of my first business lessons is I was told to go to China, buy products from China because you're going to get a higher return on investment. So I was selling accessories, so I wanted to get some shoelaces because shoelaces were 13 pence a pair from China, and I could sell them on eBay for about £2.99, £3.99. So I did the math, the profit times 3,000, I was going to be a millionaire. And not a millionaire, but close enough. And what I did is I bought a lot of shoelaces, and the mistake was that I only managed to sell 100 of them. So you can kind of see where I'm going here. So what I did is, obviously I didn't dwell on it for long. I then contacted a few eBay sellers that were selling those shoelaces at the time, and I sold them in bulk. So I managed to make a tiny little bit of money on it, nothing too major, but I made a bit of my money back and a tiny bit of profit. So that is just one simple mistake. It's something that I could have dwelled on. I've made more failures, more mistakes than that, but that's just an example. I created a plan of action to rectify that failure. So any mistake that you've made, any time that you've failed, can you rectify it? Alright, so the final point I want to make is this. If you're not making mistakes, if you're not failing in any way, then it's actually a sign that you're not changing, you're not growing. So actually making mistakes, failing in certain ways, is a sign that you're actually growing as a person. You're becoming better, you're changing your life for the better. And it's funny because we never see failure, and I'm struggling to say that word now, I think it's my speech impediment coming back that I used to have when I was a kid. We never remind ourselves that failure and making mistakes is actually a sign that we're growing as a person. And what we'll tend to do is we'll worry what people think of us, we'll worry about judgment, and that's another thing that you need to detach yourself from, because a lot of my mistakes that I've made have been driven by a fear of judgment. So if I failed at business, for example, I felt like my family would say, well, I told you to go and get a real job. Or my friends might say, oh, it didn't really work out for him. You know, he pretended that he was going to start this business and he failed. I thought by putting everything on social media, these videos, for example, people might look back in a few years' time and they might say, oh, what he intended to do didn't work out. But you have to detach yourself from judgment from others, because seriously, worrying what people think of you is just a waste of energy. If someone's judging your mistakes, then it's more of a reflection on them than it is on you. If someone feels the need to judge your mistakes, then question their life. The only reason why they are potentially judging you is because they're scared to make risks. They're scared to make change. And that's what you have to remind yourself, that if you've failed recently, if you've made a mistake, then congratulations, because you're willing to take risks and you're willing to grow. You're gonna become a better person from making mistakes and from failing. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that video. I made a nice English tea. If you enjoyed it, let me know. I really enjoyed actually creating this one. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe, follow along the journey, turn on those notifications as well, guys, and have a great evening, a great day, whatever time it is for you out there. If you feel like this video will benefit someone in any way as well, share it with them. I will be forever grateful. And I'll see you all in a video very, very soon.